We're going to get into social media here. We want to be clear of what the goal of this panel discussion is. Knowing very well that you probably have people who specialize in social media in your athletic department, and it's in most cases not you. So we're not here to tell you what to go back to tell your social media person how to do their job better, because that's not going to make any friends. What we are here to discuss is how you as content creators can build better content that meets the needs of each individual social media platform. So really, hopefully you can help make the social media person's job easier. We're joined by Evan James from Socialbakers and Gary Paczesny from the University of Memphis. We're going to open with Evan, who's got a pretty great presentation. You want to take some notes because he's got some great data on how video plays on all of the different social media platforms. So Evan, why don't you come on up?
Hi, good morning. I hope everybody had a nice time at the anime parties. I can still see some of you are in a little bit of character, so hopefully you can pay attention a little bit to the data that I'm going to present today. To introduce myself, I'm Evan James. I'm the head of America's marketing at Socialbakers. I'm really thankful to be at SVG. I've learned a ton about video production, the future of 4K. I've gotten a ton out of the event. Generally speaking, I work with large brands. On the video production side, my knowledge is very limited, but on the social media side and the business aspect of social media, and especially social media marketing, that's where I kind of have my sweet spot. So hopefully this will be a somewhat different presentation than you've kind of seen throughout the rest of the conference, and please feel free to ask any questions at any point. So to start off just a little bit so you know where I'm coming from, Socialbakers is a social media analytics company. So what we're focused on is providing you guys the analytics to understand what is working about your social media strategy when it comes to what is the most effective content, when is the best time to post, your publishing strategy, everything to help you understand what is working, how to improve your social performance, and then put that in context to your competitors and general industry benchmarks. So we have over 8 million profiles in our analytics database, which allows us to create large benchmarks saying, you know, I stand within this part of, you know, US sports teams, or if I have a Mexico sports team, or if I'm looking at, you know, airlines in Germany, I know exactly where I rank compared to my general industry. Have $34 million in funding, over 330 employees, 2,500 clients, work with, you know, companies you can see at the bottom, and also sports teams such as Manchester United, and a few others. NHL is one of our large clients in the US. And yeah, that's a little bit about the company. But to get into it, one of the key things kind of when thinking about what you should be looking at for social media analytics is not to measure in isolation. So generally speaking, this is sort of the competitive framework that I would recommend. You have at the very core, you're looking deeply into obviously your own performance, how you're performing on Facebook, what content's resonating, how you're performing on Twitter, how you're performing on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. Then within the next layer, you're looking at your core competitors, and you're wanting to say, okay, this competitor is doing this thing very well. Maybe I should try and emulate that strategy. Take some of their content ideas, take some of their publishing ideas, and apply it to your own strategy so that you can really capitalize on what they're doing. Within that, you have to understand that the next kind of layer is the ecosystem. So you want to put yourself, you know, in a general larger label of, you know, maybe other teams in your conference. So you know this is where I rank up to them, and what this is basically just telling you to do is it's helping you understand what is good. Without that, if you're just kind of looking at your own performance, you really don't know what are the realistic goals that you're trying to get. You're setting goals for yourself, but you have no sort of comparative benchmark. And the last thing is on the very outer layer, especially on Facebook. This is a newsfeed competition. No matter what you think, you're going to be competing against companies like Red Bull, BuzzFeed. Even if you have a different audience, they're just so great at social media that they're taking away from that space in the newsfeed. So you really have to, you know, look at what they're doing and realize, okay, this is how I can basically capture some of that newsfeed space to be able to really increase the amount of reach and visibility that you have there. So going into video, one of the interesting sort of studies that we put out at the end of last year is that we saw a large shift into how marketers are uploading video onto Facebook. Before, the common practice was let's upload onto YouTube, let's take a link, let's put it onto Facebook, let's put it onto Twitter, and generally that is our sort of video strategy. That's no longer valid. I'm telling you today that you really should be uploading directly. Facebook has tweaked their algorithm so that if you are not doing that, you're going to be hurt in terms of the reach that you're getting. If you're taking a YouTube video, you're putting it onto Facebook, you're gonna have less reach. Upload it directly onto Facebook. It's just the way to go. Generally speaking, if you're looking at all the different networks, Facebook also dominates in terms of interactions. So I'm not saying that there's not other benefits for the other platforms, but if you're really looking for getting that fan engagement, getting people to like, comment, share on your content, Facebook is the place for it. You can see kind of the breakdown that you have here in terms of interactions, especially on video. But yet still only 5%? Yeah, 5% of all video posts, or 5% of all Facebook posts are video. So I would, I think that video is incredibly important and extremely effective. It has the highest amount of reach that you're going to see on Facebook. So it's a great thing to be investing in. The great thing for all of you guys is that you have a lot of great content to work with. So definitely, recommending looking into that. YouTube is great as sort of as a network that is great for aggregating your content. There's specific videos that just need to go onto YouTube. If you're putting out a press release, it's probably not going to perform that well on Facebook. It's probably not going to perform. You can take a little tiny blurb and put it onto Twitter or Instagram, but really, it's still the number one place for your true fans that are wanting to go in and watch everything about what is happening with the team. They want to sit through a longer video. It's totally great. You're still seeing YouTube numbers rising in terms of both interactions and subscribers. By no means is it something to take apart. And then on Twitter video, this is something that if you're on it right now, you're ahead of the game. Generally speaking, it's going to grow. Again, the same rule that applies for Facebook applies to Twitter. You should be uploading videos directly onto Twitter and customize the content wherever you're placing it to realize who your audience is. So, Twitter, if you're uploading a video on Twitter, don't think that you can just take the same short thing that you can put on Facebook and then put it onto Twitter. It really has to kind of match what your branding message is on Twitter, what your followers are wanting, et cetera, et cetera. And again, upload natively. It's going to prioritize in terms of the number of interactions that you're getting. So generally, on the sports industry, we see, this is specifically for video, I noticed it came out, but US sports, Facebook is kind of the dominant player right now. YouTube is also quite up there. We've seen a rise in Instagram, and I think Instagram is interesting in terms of video. Currently speaking, it doesn't get the most amount of reach or interactions. Photos is prioritized. So I would love to see what that will be if I'm standing up here next year. My guess is that they're going to start on the video trend and be prioritizing videos on their network as well. But currently, photos are still the sort of most engaging content. Generally, the interactions also fall into Facebook, but you can see kind of where some of the other ones are coming. And I want to talk a little bit, run through what we did on the Super Bowl, how this plays into sort of your general social strategy. So what we looked at was something called a team affinity analysis. So we took, we took all the teams in the Super Bowl, and we took the NFL page, and then looked at the individual sponsors. And what we were basically looking for is how close are they in terms of the content that they're posting, the audience, the brand positioning, shared interests, and if Facebook assessed them as similar. And what this basically showed was which sponsor was most effective for the Patriots, for the NFL, and for the Seahawks. So generally, we could say these were the sponsors that they should be aligned with. Now, the reason that I'm speaking about sponsorships and everything is that you guys have a great asset at your availability, and the way that you should think about it is all of your players are in effect their own brand. So anytime that you are thinking about posting your content, no matter where it is, if you tag them on Facebook, you're going to see an automatic increase of around 6 to 10% of organic reach. And you just want to look into them before you decide to go down that road and say, okay, are they kind of aligned with our messaging? Are they aligned with our core team values? Is this somebody that we kind of trust? They're not going to post something that isn't going to come back and kind of bite you in the ass. It's just making sure that you have those kind of key things, because they are going to help your general reach, whether that's on video or just generally on your social media strategy. So last thing, just quickly on Socialbakers, is that we have the analytics platform to look into not only everything on video in terms of churn rates, how your videos are performing. Are people watching through the whole video? Or are they watching just at the beginning and signing off? And all of this can go kind of to increasing future performance on your video strategy. But we also are looking at all aspects of social. So we have a fully built out social media dashboard that I would love to speak to you about if anybody's interested. So going to leave you with a couple of recommendations. First one, whenever I go to these conferences, whether it's in sports or something else, I always say, know why you're on social. What business goals are you trying to achieve on social? The days are gone where you can just say, I'm on social because I need to be on social. You should really know, am I on here to increase perception around my brand, increase brand awareness? Am I trying to recruit players? Am I trying to convert people to a website? What is it that I'm trying to do? Aligning your social goals with your business goals. The second thing is to make sure that you're looking at all of the measurement around your own channels, but also be looking at the competitive space. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is something, without knowing this, you just don't know what is good. You don't know what your goals are. You're just blindly kind of saying, I think if I get to here, I'm performing well, but it may not be the case. So look into the core KPIs that are most relevant for you, and understand both how I'm performing and my competitors. Custom video content for each social network. It means you really need to be uploading everything natively. You can take a same video if you have, let's say, a 30-minute video. That may work. You may be able to take that whole video, put it onto YouTube, but you should be taking out of that video chunks, putting it onto Facebook, putting it onto Twitter, thinking about the audience that you have and that you're trying to reach. What is it that's going to resonate best with them? Take into effect that with the autoplay feature on Facebook, you have to create something that's visually captivating within the first bit of the video. Otherwise, they're not going to click on. With Twitter, you need something punchy. It's just like that. You need quick, hit them hard, and hopefully keep them entertaining. And then the last thing would be increasing reach with partners. Again, with you guys, you have a great asset, coaches, players. So make sure that you're looking into that. Do the proper analysis beforehand, and then analyze it through everything else. So thank you. I think we're gonna switch over to the panel. So I'll welcome Brandon back up to the stage.
All right, thanks a lot, Evan. That was great. Any questions from the audience before we get into the panel conversation? Anything specifically for Evan that you want to ask before I start firing ones at him? No? Too many numbers, I guess, too early in the morning. Maybe?
Too many numbers. Sorry about that.
No, that was great. Okay, we have a question? Okay, yes, Jim.
Totally. I'm suggesting that you need to take into every single video that you create, you need to take into account, is this going to work with my audience? Now, it may be that a 30-second video is going to work across all of your different networks, but it also may be that 30-second video is just not going to work when you post onto Facebook as it did with YouTube. You have to think really about, look into the analytics of your past videos and see, okay, the timing of the videos, which ones performed best. Look into the churn rates. So how many people are watching, the first 10 seconds, how many people are then dropping off, and understand, okay, is that 30 seconds actually, is it valuable? And what is the content going to work as effectively as past videos? It's really on a case-by-case basis. the number one thing I could say is you have to just kind of look into past videos that you posted, look into the analytics of it, see if it works. If it does, keep the video. If it doesn't, take a custom bit of it, post onto and customize it for the network.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Super Bowl study that we were doing, we were looking at the sponsors of the Super Bowl. Generally, if I typically am speaking to large brands, and they don't have the players and coaches asset for them, and so what they're doing is, Red Bull, for instance, is saying, okay, I'm looking to partner with somebody, and I'm going to increase the amount of reach that I'm getting. GoPro sits well within kind of the same brand perception that I have, the same audience, and so I'm going to partner with them. I'm physically going to CC them in a post, and that's going to increase the amount of reach that I'm getting on that post.
Okay, so I would say you could do that with your athletics account, but you cannot do that with your student athletes. From a compliance standpoint,
Right.
that have to be detection of student athletes.
Fair enough. I by no means claim to be an expert in sort of the college video space, so completely disregard that if that's a compliance.
I don't think the
thing.
NCAA is an expert in the NCAA violations.
Okay. Yes. So that may very well be true.
Not that Jim would know anything about that. All right, anyone else before? Oh, yeah. All right, Paul, yeah, fire away.
Question on this program and they have fans, but they've also got the youth alumni base. And is there a different approach from alumni base that would be older? Maybe we'll get into that as well. Or is it all one?
So generally speaking, I can't say specifically on where alumni are sitting, but I can say that typically, if you look at the demographics on Facebook skews a little bit older than some of the other networks. So Facebook could be important, especially with people between the age of 30 to 50. You're going to see a much higher audience on Facebook than you would on any of the other networks.
Gary, I want to get you into the mix here. So you kind of sit in an interesting point where you are kind of the crossroads of video production and social media. There are some positions that the athletic department has decided, all right, digital media is going to include social media and video, do them both. So what is your response to some of this data, and how does it apply to what you see in some of the content that you're releasing for Memphis?
Yeah, so we go about producing different content for different platforms, and it's the same overall theme, but we tier some of our different content based on where we're putting it. So if it's going on YouTube as our video portal at the moment, and so we go about putting the large form content on YouTube, and then kind of spinning off some of that smaller content to Twitter and Instagram and those various platforms. So kind of have a target focus on our audience, if it's being a recruiting or alumni-based ticket sales, depending on what the overall reaching goal of that video is.
I know that when the conversation comes up about how to customize content for different social media platforms, it always seems like the baseline advice is just simply the time, how long each video is. Is there anything else aside from Twitter, shorter, Facebook, a little bit longer, website, a little bit longer still? Is there any other advice other than just the length of the video as to how to best utilize Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be?
I think in our situation, we try to make sure that the video is eye-catching, depending on the platform it is. So making sure it's not just a press conference or it's a highlight video. We try to get the nuts and bolts to our fans in a quick format via those other platforms.
Evan, what do you think?
Yeah. Again, as I mentioned with Facebook, it's thinking about the autoplay, making sure that you're creating something that is people are going to click on with no sound, so something visually stimulating at the very beginning. If you're advertising something on YouTube, you're using YouTube in-stream, you have 5 seconds, so you better make those first 5 seconds count, otherwise they're not going to see the rest of the video. If you're looking at Twitter, it's just something quick, catchy, as I said, and if you're wanting to increase reach, building off of trending hashtags, something that is popular in your area, doing the research around that. Instagram, I honestly, I would say generally, Instagram has a little bit of work to do on the video side. On the photo side, something that's been interesting is that actually photos with filters don't perform quite as well as the ones that are just done with no filter. So it's kind of something interesting to take in, but I think they still have a little bit of ways to go on the video side.
Any more audience questions? Yes.
Frequency. On Twitter, I get people who show me and they're not.
There's a mic right there for you. You're good.
I said frequency and by network, and that is, I get people on Twitter who just blather on and I turn them off. So any comments on frequency for the various networks in terms of posting?
Yeah, so generally speaking, I'm going to start with Facebook. On Facebook, what we've seen is in 2013, a page posted on average, it was something like 13 times per month. Now they're posting 45 times per month. This correlates basically with an increase in competition. There's more pages on Facebook. Fans are liking more pages, and organic reach has decreased. So basically what has happened in the Facebook ecosystem is that marketers are increasing the amount of posts that they're putting there. Now, when it comes to frequency, on any network, the rule is, you need to look at generally what frequency of posts is going to get me the total highest amount of interactions and the highest amount of average interactions per post. So I can't tell you you should post 8 times a day. It's more like you need to look into the analytics, no matter what network it is, and say, okay, these are the ones that are getting me the most people that are retweeting the content or favoriting the content or liking the content or commenting on it or sharing it. But generally, it's just become more competitive. Frequency has gone up, but at the same time, you can definitely overpost, and that's going to hurt your general social strategy.
I think one thing we go about doing is making sure that we know what's being posted throughout the day based on our marketing department, our ticketing, our communications, and really making sure that we, we're strict and, let everybody have their voice, but also make sure not to oversaturate the marketplace.
Any others from the crowd? Yeah, sure. Michael gets you.
I've got a quick question about native Twitter video. What are the most recent developments with that? Is that kind of growing? I've heard that Twitter may be emphasizing native video posts over YouTube links, things like that. Where do you guys see that going, and how is that going to kind of progress?
So it's slightly increased in terms of the volume of videos that have gone onto it. It's still only around, I think it's around 4% of all post types are video. However, the interactions on it are quite high. So they're following suit basically on Facebook. They've changed their algorithm to prioritize video a little bit more. Again, if we're sitting here in 2016, it's going to be one of the biggest, most dominant things. And what they do definitely prioritize is, as I said, it's upload it directly onto Twitter. Don't take a link. Generally speaking, all your videos are going to perform better if you upload it directly onto there. And of course, with things like Periscope, it's been an interesting development. It's a little bit too new for me to give any sort of concrete analysis on it. Again, in 2016, it'll be a major topic. But I think it's fascinating what they're doing, and I'm excited for video on Twitter. I would say out of all the networks, it's kind of where I'm most excited to see what the developments will be in the upcoming year.
I think we've had the most success by putting video native to Twitter. I think it gets a lot more views than it would just by putting a YouTube link. If you take the same 30-second video and post it natively to Twitter versus putting it to YouTube, the views are 4 times as much as what you would see just on a YouTube link to a soccer commercial or to a very sport video.
And if what you're saying is true, it's a great way to stand out. If only 4% of Twitter posts or videos, period, it seems like an obvious way to do that. How are the tools improving? I know when Twitter first came out with the video, you couldn't really post anything longer than 15 seconds. Is that something that you think that their network is going to try to improve upon, so that you can post something that's 30 seconds, a minute, if you really wanted to? Or does that break the character rule?
I think it might. Their sort of positioning within the network is micro content.
Yeah.
So I don't see them ever being able, just saying, post an hour video or
Well, yeah.
post anything of the sort. If they'll change, the time of the video to be slightly longer, maybe. There's no indication of it from speaking with Twitter recently, but I have no idea.
Gotcha.
Maybe they don't always fully tell me everything either, as they shouldn't.
They're an open book.
So yeah, we'll have to see in the future.
Yes.
I'm wondering about just general time of day for videos. Where do you see the most views? At what time of day, and how late is too late? If there's a basketball game and it doesn't get done till late, and you're putting up post-game highlights, how late is too late? Let's just wait till the next day.
I think in some regards, we try to get it up even following a game, so it's there the next morning. I think that's the big thing is we kind of know the audience will die off. If you have a 7 o'clock game and it ends at 10 o'clock and you're not getting content done till midnight, I think our approach is to have it there so people, when they come to work the next morning, are reading the story. And then in correlation, we also set up social media posts with that stuff to repurpose the content from the night before. So we kind of recycle, that game story, those highlights, and that content via social the next morning, so it's right there for them. We also put it out that night, so if there are people that are clamoring for it, and we all know we have some rabid fan bases that want to see it that night. We have it available, but we really try to push our content for the next morning so it's available to people to kind of recap what happened.
I can't speak into when is the most effective time for a particular page or general industry. It varies from one industry to the other. But what I can say, the best thing to do is take a look at the time of day, whether it's video or whether it's something else, time of day that's most effective for getting interactions, and schedule your content to go out at that time. Some things you need to create on the fly, some things can be prepared beforehand, but make sure that you're capitalizing on when your audience is most active and publish then. It's when you're going to see the most amount of success with your social content.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Our site is essentially a video site. I know a lot of schools and conferences, their point is still to drive people to their website, but we would still want to be engaging on social and include videos and all of that. So what's kind of your suggestion for strategy on balancing being engaging, putting videos out on social, but still also being able to drive them back to the website?
So it's good. You have a concrete business goal. I want to increase basically how I would say, again, with a lot of marketers that I'm speaking at, brands, increasing brand awareness and driving conversions. The conversion is to your website. The brand awareness is what you're trying to generate on social. So you have to think, what are you basically trying to prioritize? One more than the other, and what is the most effective way? Generally speaking, the more interactions and engagement that you're going to get on your social channels, the higher success of your conversion rates are going to be. So don't scare them away, but just saying, go to the website, go to the website, go to the website. Create something that's engaging for them to come back. They're engaging with the content, and then occasionally create call to actions that are driving to the website. And you can also try, I don't know if you're doing any social advertising, but try sort of ads that are directly pushing right to your website. That people will take that a lot better than if they're constantly being told natively to go to their website.
What's your strategy for sort of multiple social media managers? A thing where, like, let's say you just won a conference tournament basketball game, you want to push that, but meanwhile, your baseball SID is 4 states away posting like a non-conference win something. What's sort of your strategy for trying to like get everybody on the same page instead of thinking like post-game checklist, thinking big picture and sort of how to manage everybody that way?
Yeah, so we go about strategizing it in, we use a Google document that's simply passed around so we can see what scheduled content we have, knowing pregame, halftime graphics, to kind of just have an overall view of what's going on. So if, women's basketball is playing a game and a baseball release needs to go out, you kind of know that you're expected to look at the sheet and know about, hey, you can post it after the game or at halftime, and kind of strategize around what's going on in our overall reaching schedule of the athletic department.
thank you for bringing that up. I really thought the SVG office was the only one that had Google Docs as its backbone to its workflow.
We found it to be the easiest way just to kind of communicate with everybody.
Socialbakers.
All right, we'll talk after.
Do you recommend organizations getting on every single social media platform, or do you recommend finding 2 or 3 and really dominating those?
No, I don't. I recommend that you take into account the resources that you have and only commit to those platforms, and that's it. Whatever are the most important ones, do that. Once you have the capacity to increase to your next network, then increase. But see too many brands, too many companies, too many teams in general that are saying, oh, there's this new network. We don't know if it's going to be effective, but we got to be on it. And they don't have the capacity, so they're not responding to fans they're asking questions. They're on it, but they don't have a clear strategy. They're posting once in a while. It doesn't make sense, and it hurts them in the long term because a couple years down the line where they do have the capacity, they've kind of screwed up already on trying to build that community. And so generally speaking, I would say no. You should work with the resources that you have at hand and prioritize the networks.
Got time for one more? Yeah, Jim.
Evan, I was wondering from a staffing standpoint, can you touch on what someone like Manchester is doing, how much staff, how much money they're investing in this? And then Gary, if you guys have added staff to do this, or are you just adding this on to your staff's already full plate?
So I am more than happy to look into the analytics platform after and look specifically into what Manchester is doing. I'm the head of America's marketing. They're out of Europe, obviously, so they're not a client of mine. But more than happy to speak after. Sorry that I don't have it up. Okay, so the NHL, for instance, I'm not allowed to say the exact number that they're spending, but it's quite a lot. And the way that it's structured at the NHL is that all of the teams have, in effect, sort of free range on their social strategy, but at the same time need to fall within the messaging that is going out. And so what the NHL does is they oversee all of the teams, and if something comes up, then they flag it. So they're monitoring all of their analytics. They're monitoring them in a management tool to see the actual live content that's coming, and they're looking for keywords of something that could possibly violate what the NHL is saying that they should do. And if it does, they contact the community manager, say, hey, listen, this isn't cool. You have to take this down, or we need to talk about your social strategy. You're not performing well, et cetera.
I think from our standpoint, we're a fairly small athletic department, so we handle it in a twofold approach. We have one person that oversees it on a directly day-to-day basis, and then each of our media relations staff members oversee the different teams' accounts, along with a representative from those teams, be it a director of ops or an assistant coach, and then I'm kind of the one that takes that 30,000-foot view and makes sure we stay on point based on our athletic directors' branding, marketing, and messaging for our entire athletic department. So we've not added staff to specifically handle social, but we've taken it to where we've lessened the burden on 1 or 2 people, and we've kind of spread it throughout the athletic department.
Yeah, sure. You'll take one more. The question was around crisis management and how to handle it on social media. Probably certainly a good Costa question, but is it just avoid it? Do you just go on lockdown?
So first thing is use a listening platform, such as Rating 6, something like that, to identify when there's a crisis. If you basically set a threshold of mentions go above X%, whatever it is, that's not your average, then you get a notification. You can clearly look into it and say, okay, this is happening because we did something great, or this is happening because we really screwed up. And if it's something that you really screwed up, that's when you kind of need to, it's full hands on deck. Get in the brand world, it's the PR manager takes over social, and the best way it's on a case by case basis. Sometimes it's trying to delete the content. Sometimes that works horribly against you, and it's better to just kind of, and I would always recommend to comment on everybody that is, everybody else that is commenting, and trying to basically quell the situation. So the worst thing you can do is just ignore it and let it go, because it will go.
Talking like recruiting violations, things like that. I think everyone lives in fear of waking up one morning and that being their athletic department. But I think your point is probably prudent in that it's got to go to whoever the official communications person is at the university at that point, right? I assume that's what it would be for you, Gary.
Yeah, that's how, it's we go about it. If there's a situation in that regard, then it automatically folds back to the university side of communications. I can tell you that we've had where hashtags have kind of gone crazy on us. We were, trying to sell tickets, and there was a hashtag that our fans are using that was a drug reference, and there was nothing we could do about it, but they were having a good time with it, and it just kind of, we had to steer away from it as much as we could, but they were still just trying to sell tickets in the Liberty Bowl, and they had a drug reference that came up again and again and again, and so we just had to slowly but surely walk away from posting for a little bit in terms of selling tickets to a football game. So it's a weird world we live in sometimes.
We had one more for reels this time. Yeah.
Just had a question about what your recommendation is for engaging a partner with your content. It's such a 10 years ago or older thought process to have branded intros, especially because.
I'm sorry, could you speak into the mic a little bit more? I'm just having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, it's old thought process to try to sponsor your content by putting a logo on a branded intro. May have been popular a long time ago, or may have been a model from TV shows or magazine-style shows that would be segmented into web content. But with the opening piece of your video being the most important as far as keeping the user engaged or content consumer wanting to watch the rest of the piece, how do you go about marketing to a partner, how you're going to get a partner involved in a production? So if you had a partner that wanted to sponsor all your content, well, great, this is what we're going to do for you. What are we going to do for you? Because I don't want to put an animated intro at the beginning of my videos.
Yeah, I think the animated intro is kind of the way that most people do it still today. One thing we've gone about is, in the branding and title headlines of our various content, making sure that our partners mention, reaching out to our partner and making sure that we're using the content that they want and, branding it on our site or micro sites, and then also engaging them in social media. The different things that we've done is allowed YouTube to do some of the pop-up ads, which everybody dislikes, but it's a great way for our partner to have a voice there and on a video that we don't necessarily want the brand imaging, and burned into the video itself.
Okay, I think that's a really great conversation, guys. Let's give these guys a round of applause. Thanks very much. Lots of good information there.